Leeds International School, Primary 4, First Midterm, English Literature, Lesson number 4, Listen. Listen by Tony Langham. Reference Essential Fiction, an anthology compiled by Brian Moses, page number 11. Content, learning outcomes about the author, the poem, explanation of the poem, vocabulary, summary, questions. Learning outcomes. Students will be able to identify the simple idea about the poem, identify the sounds, identify rhyming words, increase their vocabulary. The author, Tony Langham. Children, now you can see a picture of the author. Right, children, now I'm going to tell you few details about Tony. Tony co-founded Lancens in 1989 and has advised governments, organizations, and companies on their image and reputation for over 30 years. When asked for the secret of Lanson's success, Langham says it's simple. We live for today and tomorrow. Tony has received 3 awards from the PRCA celebrating lifetime achievement and contribution to the UK PR industry in 2004. His first book was Reputation Management. Now you can see there are few books. Creepy Crawly Calypso, The Amazing Adventures of Teddy, Why Me, Baby's First Year. Take out your English literature books and get ready with the lesson. Listen, the poem by Tony. Listen. What can you hear? The crashing waves of a distant sea. A faraway bird calling to me. Listen. What can you hear? The buzz buzzing of a bumblebee. The sound of the wind in a sycamore tree. Listen. What can you hear? The rattle and roar of an express train. The sound of raindrops on the window pane. Listen. What can you hear? The pitter patter of the paws of a mouse. A creaking door in a spooky old house. Listen. What can you hear? The hoot of an owl in the still of the night. The sigh of flowers opening in sunlight. Listen. What can you hear? Listen. What can... Shh! Don't say a thing. Listen. What can you hear? Everything. Right, children? This poem is about the nature, the environment. You can see the poem is starting with the word listen. Listen. Right? Look at the first stanza. Listen. The writer wants to give one's attention to the sounds of the nature. Let's see what are the sounds. Listen, what can you hear? The writer asks a question. What can you hear? The crashing waves of a distant sea. crashing waves, a sudden loud noise as of waves breaking or hitting another waves. We called it cracking sound. The writer can hear the crashing waves of a distant sea, and also a faraway bird calling to me. He can hear a faraway bird was calling to me like whistling. Right. Now listen to these sounds and identify them. The second stanza. Listen, again he asks a question. What can you hear? The buzzing of a bumblebee. Buzz, buzzing of a bumblebee. A low, continuous humming or murmuring sound of a bumblebee. Who is bumblebee? A large fairy social bee which flies with a loud hum, living in small colonies in holes underground. We call them bumblebee. The writer can hear the sound of a bumblebee also. The sound of the wind in a sycamore tree. What is the meaning of sycamore tree? A sycamore tree is a tree that has yellow flowers and large leaves with 5 points. The sound of shaking the sycamore tree with the wind, the writer can hear. The writer can hear the buzzing of a bumblebee, the sound of the wind in a sycamore tree. Right, children? Now listen to the sound and identify that. What's that? Listen, what can you hear? Then again he asks a question. What can you hear? The rattle and roar of an express train, the sound of raindrops on a window pane. Listen. When he listens, he can hear the sound of an express train. The express train is traveling with the sound of sharp knocking sound and a long, loud, deep sound. So he can hear it, the rattle and roar of an express train, and also the sound of raindrops on a window pane. Raindrops, a single drop of rain, tend to roll in one direction on a vertical surface such as a window pane. The writer can hear the sound. The raindrops are falling onto the window pane. Then he can listen to the sound of raindrops. Right. Now listen to these sounds and identify what are they. Listen, what can you hear? Again, he asks a question. What can you hear? The pitter patter of the paws of a mouse, a creaking door in a spooky old house. He can hear the pitter patter of the paws of a mouse. The sound of the foot of a mouse he can hear. A creaking door in a spooky old house. Spooky old house. House, it was old and spooky. Ghostly old house. A creaking door. The sound of when we open or close an old door. A creaking sound. A creaking door in a spooky old house. Right. Now listen to this sound and identify what was that. Listen, what can you hear? The hoot of an owl in the still of the night, the sigh of flowers opening in sunlight. Look at first two lines. The hoot of an owl in the still of the night. It is mentioning the night. Look at second one. The sigh of flowers open in sunlight. It is mentioning day. We can hear still of the night. Still of the night. Silent, quiet and calm night even we can hear sounds. What's that? Owl that utters a hooting cry. The hoot of an owl we can hear in the still of the night. In the silent, quiet and calm night. The sigh of flowers. The sound of the flowers opening we can hear in the day. If we are admiring the nature, we can hear sounds in day and night both. Right, children? Now listen to this sound and identify what was that. Listen. What can you hear? Listen. What can... Shh. Don't say a thing. Listen. Don't say a thing. Listen. What can you hear? If we are admiring the nature, we can hear everything. Then the writer told, listen, what can you hear? Listen. Shh, don't say a thing. Listen. Then what can you hear? When we are listening, we can hear everything. The writer wanted to give the attention to the nature. Right, children, let's see the meanings of difficult words. Crashing, loud noises made when things break or fall. Buzz, a low continuous humming or murmuring sound. Mumble, move or act in awkward or confused manner. Next one, rattle, make or caused to make a rapid succession of short, sharp, knocking sounds. Roar, a full, deep cry. Paw, an animal's foot having claws. Creaking, a sharp scraping or squeaking sound. Spooky, easily frightened, nervous. Rat children. Summary of the lesson. This poem is about the nature, the environment. The writer wanted to pay the attention to the environment, to the sound of the environment. Then he asked us to listen. Listen many sounds. What are they? The crashing waves of a distant sea, a faraway bird calling to me, the sounds of crashing waves and the whistling sound of bird. When we are listening, we can hear. The buzz buzz buzzing of a bumblebee, we can hear a sound of the bees. And also the trees are shaking. We know trees are shaking to the wind. When we are listening, we can hear it well. The rattle and roar of an express train. The sound of the train and the sound of the raindrops also we can hear if we are paying the attention to the sounds. Then pitter-patter of the paws of a mouse, a creaking door in a spooky old house. We can hear the sound of the paws of a mouse and also the sound of the opening a door and also closing the door. We can hear the sound. Not only daytime but also nighttime also we can hear sounds. When we are listening to the sounds, the calm, quiet and night also we can hear sounds. The hoot of an owl and also the sigh of flowers opening in sunlight. So writer wanted to pay our attention to the sounds of nature. And children, you can see here, I put arrows and highlighted some boxes. Look at those boxes. See me, bee tree, train rain, mouse house, night sunlight. We call them rhyming words. Look at these words again. See me, they have same sounds. Bee tree, train rain, mouse house, night sunlight. They have same sounds. So we call them rhyming words. Right children, now I am going to ask few questions from the poem. Question number 1. Who was written the poem? Who was written the poem? What about the poem? What about the poem? When you are admiring the nature, what can you hear? When you are admiring the nature, what can you hear? What are the rhyming words in the poem? What are the rhyming words in the poem? How many animals are mentioned in the poem? How many animals are mentioned in the poem? Who are they? Who are they? Write the adjectives to the following words from the poem. Write the adjectives to the following words from the poem. House, train, door, waves and bird. House, train, door, waves, and bird. Thank you very much, children. Stay safe.